Organizers in Ithaca, New York are on the verge of winning a major victory in the nationwide fight to cancel rents and mortgages in the wake of coronavirus. The city's legislature adopted a resolution pushed by tenant organizers that would cancel the rent for Ithaca tenants made unemployed or underemployed during the pandemic. It requires approval from the state to be made into law. While many other nations canceled rents for the duration of the pandemic, renters in the U.S. have been left with no substantive relief, only a temporary moratorium on evictions while their rent continues to accrue. Now, millions are unprotected from the projected wave of evictions following the end of these moratoriums in states and cities around the country. Between March 25th and April 10th, nearly half of renters aged 18 to 64 reported that they were having trouble paying their rent or utilities, were food insecure, or couldn't afford necessary medical care, according to a study by the Urban Institute. Breakthrough spoke with Daisy Wiley, an organizer with the Ithaca Tenants Union, on this struggle in her city and what the resolution would mean if passed into law.
The resolution is actually calling for funding from the state to cover the cost of rent. Regardless, though, landlords and property owners are in a much better place than tenants right now. Homeowners have obviously gotten more protection from the state in the form of like long-term deferments of mortgage payments. Landlords have gotten vouchers, so landlords are in a much less precarious economic position to begin with. The bill will help those who haven't been able to pay rent since to prevent them from being evicted once the moratorium is lifted. And that will forgive all rent accrued since March and until the end of July when the moratorium lifts. It was entirely the people that made this possible and not politicians on any level. It was originally a really small group of like some previous organizers in union or other work, students, professors. We have a couple colleges here, so there's a lot of that, and some people that are suddenly unemployed due to COVID, and those really feeling like the urgency of organizing in this moment. The peak of it, though, was really when we co-sponsored PSL's Cancel the Rents car caravan, and this really like emboldened a lot of other tenants who maybe weren't aware of this going on and got a lot more massive support behind the bill. And also like really got us that on the streets visibility. The resolution still needs to be approved at a state level by the Department of Health. So we're making a statewide push for that right now. We're currently talking to other groups, other tenants unions, organizing various actions to put pressure on the state. So we're in talks with a couple other tenants unions in other cities. The huge like overarching implication here obviously is the acknowledgement of a huge power imbalance that has existed for hundreds of years. Like this bill begins to question that balance, like questioning the landlord-tenant relationship itself, which is obviously rife with power imbalance and abuse. It questions an economic system which would obviously rather leave its people on the streets and evict them during a pandemic than actually decrease the profits of the ruling class. Join a tenants union or make one if you don't have one. Make your demands present in the public, get really specific about what you're asking for, and don't give in and water it down, like keep pushing. We were told repeatedly by local and state government that what we were doing would not work, that we were crazy socialists, that we were just aiming too high, and that landlords hold too much power and would push back against it, and this would never even get this far. And the fact is that there are many more of us, and we as tenants have so much more power together than they do. So I would just say, get organized.